For the 23rd problem on this second ACT practice test, which of the following is a factored form of the expression 5x squared minus 13x minus 6? So let's first start by just rewriting this expression down below. So we have 5x squared minus 13x minus 6. And we know that when we factor this, we'll get a product of two binomials. Or in other words, each set of these parentheses will have two terms in it that we need to figure out. And the way I like to think about factoring is that it's essentially the reverse of the FOIL method. So recall that the FOIL method essentially allows you to go from these two multiplied binomials to this expression here. And with the FOIL method, you start with the first terms in each, so this term, and both of these multiply together to give the first term of this expression. So we need to think what two numbers can multiply together to give 5x squared. And right away, since we have x squared, we know that each of these has to have at least x in it, since x times x gives us x squared. Now, what two numbers multiplied together can give us 5? And since 5 is prime, there's only one way to get 5 by multiplying two numbers. And that is multiplying the numbers 5 and 1 together. So we know that we at least start with 5x and 1x in these two binomials. And the next part is to look at our last terms in the FOIL method. So the last means that we multiply this term and this term to give us this minus 6. So we need to ask ourselves, what numbers can multiply together, or what two numbers multiply together to give us negative 6? And let's write down the possibilities over here. So we can have minus 2 and 3, or minus 3 and 2, or we can have minus 1 and 6, or minus 6 and 1. And these are the only possible ways that we can multiply two numbers together to give minus 6. Now, the last part of FOIL that we can use is this outer and inner. And we know that the outer terms and the inner terms, when you multiply them together and add or subtract them, what you get is this minus 13x. So some combination of these outer terms and inner terms multiplied together give us this minus 13x. And from here, we know that these missing terms would have to be one of these choices. And honestly, at this point, you have to guess and see if it works. So let's first just pick something. Let's guess that this is minus 3 and this is plus 2. And the reason why I went with 3 and 2 for my first guess instead of 1 and 6 is because if you look at the answers, there is no 1 and 6, which means that it's some combination of 3 and 2, whether it's plus 2 or minus 2 or plus 3 or minus 3. So with this guess, we can now use FOIL to see if we get back our expression. So let's test this using the FOIL method. We multiplied the first, this 5x and this 1x, to get 5x squared. And then 5x times positive 2 would be plus 10x. And minus 3 times 1x would be minus 3x. And minus 3 times positive 2 would be minus 6. And when you simplify these middle terms, plus 10x minus 3x, you get plus 7x, which is not minus 13. So what we can do from here is maybe switch the signs, but if you did that, you're again going to get the wrong middle term. Because if you put minus here, then just focusing on these outer and inner terms. So we'd have minus 2 times 5x, which is minus 10x, but then we'd have plus 3 times 1x, or plus 3x. And minus 10x plus 3x would just be minus 7x. So that doesn't work either, which means that the 3 and the 2 are in the wrong positions. They need to be switched. So let me clean this up and I'll switch them. So what we're doing now is putting the 3 here and the 2 here. And our question is, should we put a minus sign here or a plus sign? And whatever we choose here, over here would have to be the opposite. So if we did minus here, then we'd have 5x times minus 3, which is minus 15x. And we'd have plus 2 times 1x, which is plus 2x. And minus 15x plus 2x gives us minus 13x. So this factored way of writing it is the correct way. And let's just test it just to make sure, because that test was just quick mental arithmetic. So we have 5x times 1x, which is 5x squared. Minus 3 times 5x is minus 15x. Plus 2 times 1x is plus 2x. And plus 2 times minus 3 would be minus 6. And combining these like terms in the middle, we have 5x squared. And minus 15x plus 2x is minus 13x. And then minus 6. So since we got back the right answer, that means that this is correct. And going up to our answer choices, you can see the 5x plus 2 and the x minus 3. So that is choice letter A.